Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs to society. Welcome, you rock dwellers. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Drader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada. And that is Sharon Angle. Sharon, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thank you, Rick. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I think we have some real evidence that the lawmakers in Sacramento, or at least the counselors to the governor in Sacramento, have been watching our show on AUN TV there in Northern California, because you grabbed an article about Governor Newsom, who couldn't figure out why they had such high gas prices.
That's right. Governor Gavin Newsom wants to know why the state's gas prices are higher than they should be. Newsom asked the California Energy Commission on Tuesday for analysis of the state's gas prices. Gordon Schrapp of the Energy Commission says California prices are higher than other states because of high taxes, tougher regulations, and recent problems at the state's refineries. Duh, Sharon, they are listening.
They are listening, because Monday we told them, on our show, we told them that it was exactly the problem, that it was taxes and regulation, and they are, at least Mr. Schrapp is listening. So I'm glad to hear that we're making an impact there in Sacramento. What they do with the information, we won't know, but at least they know what the matter is, and maybe now they can correct that.
Well, Sharon, I'll tell you where the problem is. The problem is with the voters who keep voting in these idiots, who keep piling on these regulations, who keep raising taxes, who keep making it tougher for the refineries to do business in California. I'll be honest with you. If I was in control of one of the five major oil companies, I'd pull out of California. I really would. I'd teach them a lesson. You don't like us? You want all this green energy? You think that's the answer? Well, try living without gas, oil, natural gas. Try living without these things. They'll come to their senses. But blame the California voters. They keep voting in these idiots. More regulations, more taxes, makes it tougher to do business in California. Let them pay $8 a gallon. I don't care.
Well, and speaking of voters voting in idiots, we have one that we've been watching for some time since her election, and that's a Boston College graduate in economics, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and that just I don't get it. I don't get it, Rick, but. This Sri Lanka thing kind of ties in, because now they're saying that these bombers were well educated and come from economically strong families. Some of them went abroad for studies. One of them, we know, went to the United Kingdom, then went to Australia for a law degree. Foreign partners, including the United Kingdom, are helping us with these investigations, and that's how they're finding this out. Two brothers were sons of a wealthy spice trader and a pillar of the economic community. So here we have intelligent people buying into this agenda, this rhetoric that's being pronounced by the Islamicists, and now, we can see a parallel here in our own country with, someone who should be fairly intelligent buying into the socialist rhetoric that the New Green Deal is good for this country, and Medicare for all is good for all of us. It's just amazing how intelligent people with college degrees can be so completely blinded and led astray.
Well, Sharon, number one, it's garbage in, it's garbage out.
I
These
guess
people
so.
that are going to these colleges and universities, as you said, Ocasio-Cortez, she has a degree in economics from Boston College or Boston University. I keep getting the two of them mixed up. I know one of them is the Terriers, the other is the Golden Eagles. Anyway, garbage in, garbage out. They're learning such idiotic things at college. They're learning things that has nothing to do with preparing them for life in the real world. One of the things I wanted to say about good old AOC, it's easier for me to say than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's one thing I wanted to say about AOC. After the terrible shooting at the mosque in New Zealand, in Christchurch, New Zealand, AOC put out 14 tweets blasting what happened. 14. Do you know how many tweets she has put out about the killings in Sri Lanka? Zero. Zero.
I was going to say,
tweets.
nobody's talking about it except some of the news carriers, and even then, they're not talking about the what we're talking about, which is the attack on Christians. This is, as we said this past week, this is just one of numerous attacks. There are over 100 attacks every month around the world on Christian buildings and churches, and
Right.
over 345 a month. Christians die every month, 345 every month. Well, they're going to go over that this month because this Sri Lanka killing has already claimed more than that now.
Well, Sharon, talking about that, we've had Rick on yesterday. Rick is the president for Americans for Limited Government. Oh, there goes Bobby Kitty stepping on my computer, messing it up. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Bobby. Great to have you with us. Great to have you join us today, Bobby. But Rick Manning is also a co-host here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. He wrote a great article, and please check this out on his website, getliberty.org. It's Sri Lanka Easter Massacre underscores a threat posed to the West and Christianity. And in there, Rick talked about that. One of the things he wrote in your article, Open Door Organizations, which monitors Christian persecution worldwide, reports that 11 Christians are killed for faith-related reasons every day around the world, and a total of 4,136 as of April the 1st. April the 22nd. All right, so you got over 4,000 Christians being killed since the beginning of the year. Okay, 4,136 Christians killed. When do we hear about that? But we sure did hear about the 50 Muslims that was killed in Christchurch, New Zealand. And I'm not saying anything negative about that. But, okay, when you want to talk about the real persecution by people because of their faith, because of their religion, it's Christians. And you know what, Sharon? The other thing is, it's being done by radical Islamists. Let's call it out for what it is. I mean, these people aren't just dying at the hands of some shooter or some criminal like on the streets of Chicago. But these people are being persecuted, targeted, and killed for their Christian beliefs. Yeah, we don't hear about that. We don't hear about that from the mainstream media. We don't hear about that from Tlaib. We don't hear about that from Omar. We don't hear about that from AOC. We don't even hear about it from Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer.
Nope, we don't. And I think I have the reason. You know, we've been talking about intelligence, and here we have Alexa users. You know, this is that Google me. That's where they're getting their information. They go to Alexa and they say, so tell me about, and we know that folks like Bloomberg own Alexa. And so, of course, they're going to
really. I didn't know that. Thank you for that piece of information.
So we will be getting a little bit of a slanted viewpoint. Alexa's obviously a liberal, and so she's going to be talking to our folks about these liberal statistic. She's not going to talk about faith being a problem for Christians around the world, and that they're being martyred for their faith. But one of the things she is going to do, this artificial intelligence Alexa, and that is that she's finding out where you live and all about you. She has all kinds of ways to track you, and they're saying, well, you know, we have employees that are tracking you, yes, but they've signed non-disclosure agreements, so they can't speak about this. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, it's like this staff attorney, Lindsay Barrett said, she's from Georgetown Law Communications and Technology Clinic. She said, anytime someone is collecting where you are, that means it could go to someone else who could find you when you don't want them to, when you don't want to be found. And she says that would send up a big red flag for me, and it does for me too. But I guess not for the liberals. You know, they just
no, not for the liberals. Well, it's amazing to me, Sharon, how many times we are on videotape. We are on camera somewhere, driving in our cars, walking down the streets. It's incredible. And the ways, I bet there are so many ways that they can track us. We even have no idea about. We're finding more and more all the time through our smartphones, through our iPods, now through Alexa can be tracked. Hey, Sharon, let's take a break. We also need to find out who's calling me in the middle of the show. But you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We've got three great guests joining us today. On the other side, Sharon and I will fill you in on who we're going to be talking with and the topics of our conversations. Don't go away. We'll be right back. But today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours, free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. For a rebroadcast, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Great website. We can find our radio show there, our TV show. We have a lot of great articles, a lot of great information, interesting to conservatives. Liberals should be interested in it too, but they probably went to Boston College or Boston University with AOC, so we can't account for those people. Sharon, we've got 3 great guests joining us today.
We do. Our first guest is Robert Kuykendall, who is the Director of Communications for Second Vote, the online resource for conservative consumers. A graduate of Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, he began his career as a congressional aide in Washington, D.C., before focusing on campaign work and consulting. He also has managed and directed church-based voter turnout operations and statewide fundraising organizations. He's coming on to talk about the Bank of America sponsored Planned Parenthood fundraising events in New York. So we're going to get an opportunity to see where we should be banking now, and not only spending our money, but where we should be banking it as well.
I wish I had an account at Bank of America that I could close, but I don't bank with them. I've never banked with them. We'll talk about the reasons with Robert Kuykendall. But you know, Sharon, I've said for quite some time now, we conservatives need to use our economic power the way other groups use things. For instance, the gays use victimhood, and the black community uses guilt, and women use sex. You know, so we conservatives really need to use our economic power to do what Barack Obama said, to reward our friends and to punish our enemies. Thank you, Barack, for that.
Well, be careful now. You're talking to a woman, so just be careful.
Very smart conservative lady who knows when I'm talking tongue-in-cheek and when I'm being serious. But, okay. You know, women do, I do believe that women use their sexuality and they use it as a tool to get in the door, get ahead in life.
Ladies don't. My mother told me that ladies don't do that.
Your mother is probably a very smart woman.
Oh, she said there's definitely a difference between a woman and a lady. You be a lady. Our second guest is Gregory Wrightstone, who is a geologist with more than 35 years spent investigating the Earth and its processes. He earned an undergraduate degree from Waynesburg University and a master's degree in geology from West Virginia University. He is also the author of a new book, Inconvenient Facts: The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. And we've asked him to come on and talk about a consensus of Amazon employees reject the radical climate change agenda. Now, that is great news, because what it tells me is that just because you work for somebody doesn't mean you have to embrace their politics. So that's great.
Yeah. Indeed, you know, and maybe they didn't go to Boston College or Boston University, all these people who work at Amazon, except for the handful that did endorse this letter. Yeah. We'll find out. We'll find out from Gregory Wrightstone.
Well, our third guest is Jennifer Braceras. She's a senior fellow at Independent Women's Forum and is a conservative Hispanic female attorney and former commissioner with the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. She is uniquely positioned to discuss the Supreme Court and pick on civil rights grounds, arguments that Kavanaugh is a threat to women's rights, immigration, minority rights, and voting rights, etc. She is one of only 2 to 3 conservative minorities to have served on the Civil Rights Commission, and the only conservative minority to have served who is also a woman. And we've asked her to come on and talk about the further investigation of Trump is pointless political theater. So we're going to once more get into the Mueller investigation, and Attorney General Barr with Jennifer Braceras today. That just keeps coming up in the news because they really don't have anything, do they, Rick? They don't have anything that they want to do for America. They just want to impeach President Trump.
Let him keep up this mantra about impeach.
Mm-hmm.
I think the American people, first of all, the American people don't like their government to be unstable. They didn't like Bill Clinton impeached. All right. They didn't like Andrew Johnson impeached in 1866 or whenever it was. And when the left is talking about impeachment, they're certainly not talking about ways to make America better. So maybe they're talking about impeachment because the only other things they could talk about is free college tuition and Medicare for all. They could talk about that. They could talk about the Green New Deal. They could the things that they want to talk about, such as global warming, America doesn't care about. So I say let them keep continuing to talk about impeachment. I think the American people are going to turn them off. I think they're going to turn them off in 2020 at the ballot box.
Well, still the number one issue for Americans is border security. That's where we all live, is we want to be in a safe nation, safe from not only criminals and drugs coming across the border, but also diseases like measles. And of course, measles is really on the rise, and we keep hearing more and more reports of how measles is being more and more cases are being found in the United States. But I think one of the most outrageous stories, and this started around April the 10th, is this one of our military was sent to help the border guards down there on the southern border. And some Mexican federales came across the border onto American soil to arrest two of our guys. How outrageous is that? Now, if you needed a cause to fight for, if you needed something to talk about that's relevant, the liberals should be grabbing this one up. I mean, this is outrageous. No, they won't. They won't.
It is outrageous. And I would like to know if they are armed. I would like to know if our men and women are armed who are members of the military, the National Guard, whatever. I'd like to know if they're armed. Because in my opinion, if the federales come across, that is an invasion of our border. While our border is being invaded by people who aren't in uniform, but when it's being invaded by people in the uniform, I think that our people should have the right to protect themselves. Sharon, you mentioned measles. Okay. And as you said that in your opinion, and also mine, this new measles epidemic has been brought in across our borders. All the liberals want to talk about is inoculation, how our children need to be inoculated. Well, you know what? Our children need to be protected from these people who are going to make them sick.
Well, you asked if they were armed, and we do. Trump says he's sending armed soldiers to the southern border, especially after Mexican soldiers recently pulled guns on U.S. troops. Trump appeared to be referring to the April 13th incident in which Mexican troops reportedly questioned and pointed their weapons at two U.S. troops conducting surveillance on the border. Mexico's soldiers recently pulled guns on our National Guard soldiers, probably as a diversionary tactic for drug smugglers on the border. Better not happen again, Trump tweeted. We are now sending armed soldiers to the border. Mexico is not doing enough in apprehending and returning. A Pentagon official told AFP some of the 2,900 active duty and 2,000 National Guard troops deployed at the border have always been armed for force protection only. So they are armed, but they follow the protocol, and the protocol, of course, is the same one that we sometimes use in the war zones, which is don't use your weapon. Which, rules of engagement like that are just they're very difficult to go by when you are meeting up with an armed force like that. But these guys, they kept their heads. They were cool about it and let the Mexican troops kind of do what they were going to do. And when they realized that they were in the wrong, they gave them back their weapons and moved on. But I think, personally, I think they should have been arrested. I think those federales were across the border. They should have been detained and asked why they were in our country armed. And that's an invasion. An armed force in our country is an invasion, and I think they should be detained at the border, at least for questioning, and that their president should be sent a message. If you want your soldiers back, you need to come get them, and you need to discipline them, and you need to promise us this will never happen again.
Sharon, I think this should be a precedent for us. You know, they're willing to use their weapons. We should be willing to use our weapons to stop the invasion, to stop this invasion by their military and by their people. Sharon, we need to take a break. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Robert Kuykendall. He's the Director of Communications for Second Vote, and we're going to be discussing Bank of America sponsored Planned Parenthood fundraising events in New York City. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharon Angle. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us and watch us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder in Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and seen on the AUN television network in Northern California, in places like Sacramento, San Francisco, and San Jose. And Sharon, our first guest is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's a pleasure to invite Robert Kuykendall, who is the Director of Communications for Second Vote. The online resource for conservative consumers. A graduate of Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, he began his career as a congressional aide in Washington, D.C., before focusing on campaign work and consulting. He also has managed and directed church-based voter turnout operations and statewide fundraising organizations. Robert, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you, Rick. It's always a pleasure to join the Conservative Commandos.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we want to talk to you about the Bank of America sponsored Planned Parenthood fundraising events in New York. They don't care that there's a bunch of us out here that are, I've changed my investing habits because of that. I've gone to biblically based investing because I don't want to have any of my money making money for things that I don't support. They don't believe that?
Well, Sharon, you're exactly right to be thinking the way you are. Companies like Bank of America, they only have dollars because you and I do business with them. And when they get involved in supporting the left's agenda, they do so with our dollars, and they do so with the profits that are also owed to their investors. So Bank of America, companies like Bank of America have really gotten off track, not only from a fiduciary sense, but when it comes to the values that they are supporting. And yes, Bank of America has long had a history of supporting Planned Parenthood. And until recently, they tried to deflect. They tried to say, well, these are matching gifts from their employees. They're kind of passing the buck and blaming employees for supporting Planned Parenthood's abortion business. But research that Second Vote has released, we recently uncovered that Bank of America has been involved as a corporate sponsor with these posh fundraising galas in New York City benefiting Planned Parenthood.
Well, it's not exactly the bank. It is the Bank of America Charitable Foundation. So are they using that as a way to divorce themselves from their banking business?
Well, let me clarify. The matching gifts do come through the charitable foundation. But what we've uncovered appears to show Bank of America funds from the corporation going to sponsor this event. This is a decision made by someone at Bank of America to sponsor a premier Planned Parenthood event. In 2017, where Bank of America was a corporate sponsor, Hillary Clinton was given a celebratory award for her role in advancing the abortion movement. So this is a direct donation of corporate funds by Bank of America to Planned Parenthood. Not only Planned Parenthood, but Planned Parenthood in New York, which, as we know, Planned Parenthood activists in New York were largely responsible for getting the legislation passed to allow abortions up until the moment of birth earlier this year.
Or beyond. We're even talking about beyond. They want to give you an opportunity to kill that baby even after it's born, just in case it's not convenient for you to have the baby. So this is horrible legislation, but this is really liar, liar, pants on fire, isn't it? Because you have a quote here in your article. President Carrie Sullivan, she's the president of Bank of America Charitable Foundation, and she said on February 5th, the Bank of America does not make any direct grants to Planned Parenthood. As you may know, the Bank of America Charitable Foundation has a matching gifts program which matches our employees' charitable contributions to government-recognized 501c3 organizations. Liar, liar, pants on fire, Carrie Sullivan. Really, because you just said they've uncovered that not only does the foundation and its employees, but also the bank itself.
And we are working to really clarify what this all means. We put out the information, and we also have had partners from the National Center for Public Policy Research at Bank of America's annual meeting earlier today, who asked the company leadership, are these funds only coming through matching gifts, or are there more donations to Planned Parenthood? And unfortunately, they were cut off before they could really follow up and ask questions. But I know that their representatives are talking with Bank of America to really get to the bottom of this. And what we want to know is Bank of America going to come clean? Or what I would prefer is Bank of America say, we don't need to be involved with an organization like Planned Parenthood that primarily exists to perform abortions. And secondly, is a partisan political organization. So there's no reason for a company like Bank of America to ever be involved with Planned Parenthood, especially using the dollars that come from customers. Like, not myself, I'm not a Bank of America customer, but pro-life customers would be appalled to find out that their dollars are being used to fund Planned Parenthood's abortion business.
Well, and a 501c3 is, I have one. You have to say you will not be politically involved. You can't advocate for a certain cause. There is just, that's a 501c4 that can do those things, but not a C3. And when you give to a charity a C3, you don't expect them to be politically involved. So this is really outrageous, and they're not the only company. You've identified 38 other companies that are doing this same thing.
Yes, we have Second Vote at secondvote.com. We have a list of corporate sponsors of Planned Parenthood, and we keep that list updated because we believe information is powerful. We want your listeners, we want the conservative commandos worldwide to know what their dollars, when they spend them, retail companies, when they invest them. We want conservatives and pro-lifers to know what their dollars are funding. And when they have the information, that's when we can engage these companies on the issue. If we want to give Bank of America the benefit of the doubt and say they might not have known, well, this is key to spread this information, to make them aware, to give them the opportunity to make the right decision. And we can do that with all the corporate sponsors of Planned Parenthood.
Well, and I think that really is your objective, is to make them stop supporting these, not to put them out of business. And if Carrie Sullivan is willing to lie to you, she probably lied to Bank of America, the people that thought they were doing the right thing, but now they are not so sure. Because you have a quote in here from another guy within the bank itself. This Mr. Danhoff, Justin Danhoff, he didn't know. It looks like he didn't know. He went investigating and found for himself, didn't he?
Yeah, and it comes back to engagement. It's a lot of, you see talk of boycotts all the time, and we don't really use that word. Yes, we do want to use our dollars responsibly. We don't want our dollars to fund an agenda that goes against what we stand for. But we also have the power of our dollars. If every conservative, if every pro-life person says, Bank of America, I'm not doing business with you, I'm going to give you an opportunity to correct your behavior, we can have a really big impact. And that's what Second Vote exists for, is to expose this activity by Bank of America, to get to the bottom of what are they doing, to work with people like yourself who are in the conservative media and who are raising awareness and bringing these issues up, because the mainstream media is not digging through Bank of America's finances. We've got to do this, and we've got to expose them and then hold them accountable. And there are various means. We need to get more involved on social media, but we need to be bold about what we stand for and say, it matters where these companies stand on the issue of life. That's one of the most important issues we deal with.
Well, we have to go to a break. We're talking with Robert Kuykendall, who is the Director of Communications at Second Vote, the online resource for conservative consumers. I bank at Bank of America, and I'm going to take my article in and say, did you know? And if you didn't know, I want you to do something about it now that you do know. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. Rick and I will be right back after these messages with our guest, Robert Kuykendall.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why? Well, why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud. The claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right time. It's too brutal.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network and around the world on Al Gore's amazing internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, AM/FM 24/7, and broadcast on the AUN television network in California. Our guest this segment is Robert Kuykendall. He's Director of Communications for Second Vote. Second Vote is an organization that I really do believe in. And, you know, Sharon, I've said for years, we conservatives need to use our economic power to, like Barack Obama says, to punish our friends, or to reward our friends and to punish our enemies. And for that, Sharon Engel, I'm calling on you. Not only go into Bank of America with this article, but say, this is why I'm closing my accounts. So I challenge you, Sharon Engel, to do that. We're good friends. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I wish I banked at Bank of America, because that's exactly what I would do. Hey, Robert, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Robert, this Spring Into Action Gala, listed Bank of America as a bronze sponsor. How much money did that involve to become a bronze sponsor?
Well, that number has not been disclosed. Continue to look at it. I imagine it's a hefty price. Planned Parenthood's actually having the next edition of this gala next week, and I believe just a single ticket's somewhere upwards of $1,000. We've got we'll be posting some more information on that on our website later on. This is a pricey event. You could go to our website and see where we've posted these screenshots and see the celebrities that have lined up. This is high society in New York City, and this is what Bank of America apparently, as a company, thinks they want to be involved in.
Bank of America has this, what do you call it? The Bank of America, where is it? The Bank of America Charitable Trust Foundation. And you and Sharon were talking about that. And they says, well, this is not Bank of America. This is the Bank of America Charitable Foundation. Robert, do you think that foundation would exist without the Bank of America?
No, and if you look at the finances, Bank of America gives a massive chunk of money every year to do their charitable work. And a lot of corporations have these organizations. They operate a 501c3 as their charitable arm, and that's where they do these matching gifts programs. But for Bank of America, yes, they have 7,000 pages of donations to all sorts of organizations. We were able to identify in 2017 about 40 different Planned Parenthood organizations got upwards of over $50,000 through this foundation, and it doesn't necessarily designate. We have to do a lot of digging and really find out what this is. But the idea is we want to put out the information so people can look at it and people can say this is. I'm going to make my decision for myself because, as I said earlier, information is key. Now, the sponsorships of the Planned Parenthood galas. We believe those are direct gifts from the companies and did not go through this 501c3 organization. And that's why this is so important, because Bank of America has been content to say, look over here, but don't look there. And this is really should be concerning for all of us in the pro-life movement, and really those who believe that companies should be accountable for their activities, and of course investors who want to know what a company is doing with their profits.
In your release, you say, and you and Sharon were talking about this, that President Kerry Sullivan said that Bank of America does not make any direct charitable grants to Planned Parenthood. As you may know, Bank of America Charitable Foundation has a matching gifts program which matches our employees' charitable contributions. At what rate? When we talk about matching grants, Robert, it doesn't necessarily have to be 1 for 1. It can be 5 for 1. So do you have any idea of how much money that this the Bank of American Charitable Foundation actually matches towards their employees' donations?
Based on our experience in looking at Fortune 500 companies similar to Bank of America, I would assume it's a 1-to-1 match. But what I think is important for us to understand is while Bank of America blames its employees for those gifts, those are corporate dollars. It all goes back. It's just like our taxes. We all pay a portion. And if you have an account with Bank of America, it's a portion of your dollar that's being funneled to Planned Parenthood. So regardless, it's the money that matters, and we want to follow the money. And you know what? There are a lot of companies that do not use matching gift programs to fund Planned Parenthood. Coca-Cola, Ford, Macy's, Xerox. We've talked to those companies about their programs. AT&T is another one. And AT&T is a very left-wing company, according to our research, but they do not allow matching gifts to be sent to Planned Parenthood. So there's not. It's a myth to say that, well, we have this charitable program and we just give money out the door to all these 501c3s. Decisions can be made, and your values matter.
Robert, let's talk about Planned Parenthood for a minute. A lot of us know that Planned Parenthood is an abortion mill. They kill babies. But Planned Parenthood was founded by noted racist Margaret Sanger, who wrote, "We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the N-word population." That's what Margaret Sanger wrote. That she started Planned Parenthood with the idea of eliminating the black population, and she did not use the B word, she used the N word. That's what Planned Parenthood started out representing. So, for people who want to punish Kate Smith for a song that she sang 50 years ago, 70 years ago, whatever it was, the members of the black community ought to need to know the origin of Planned Parenthood. And if they are customers of Bank of America, they should do what I just said to my friend Sharon Angle to do. March in there and remove your accounts from that bank. That's what they need to do.
Margaret Sanger's legacy still lives at Planned Parenthood. If you look at groups like Live Action, the research they've done to show that Planned Parenthood targets poor minority communities. That's where they place their locations, where they do abort minority babies. That legacy still lives on, and that's a real issue that the pro-life movement and the conservatives here, we really need to start pressing that and show the impact of what Planned Parenthood has on the black community.
I want to say something else about Bank of America. I remember back in probably it was about 2008 or 9, that Bank of America started giving credit cards to illegal aliens who didn't have any identification, who didn't have any social security numbers. But they made up this story that, well, we want to help Hispanic people. We want more Hispanic people to become customers. But outspoken critics of illegal immigration called for a boycott and said the bank could be supporting terrorists and drug traffickers. Some outraged customers closed their accounts and cut up their credit cards. By the way, Bank of America stopped this program of giving credit cards to illegals. Robert Kuykendall, that's the same thing we need to do to stop them from supporting Planned Parenthood.
You're right. It's going to take our influence, our dollars, to say, don't do this anymore. And if you have a Bank of America account, press them on this issue. Talk to them. We need to be very direct about what we want them to do, what activities we want them to change. If they're not going to change, the next step, get our money out of there. People complain about the banking industry, and I have a lot of issues with the major national brands, Wells Fargo, Chase. So you look at their activities, even in just the last few weeks, where they're deplatforming groups based on ideology. And I don't really want to get into all that, but when you look at these national companies and you see the positions they're starting to take, it tells me that we need to start looking at shopping local and doing business locally. And maybe we do need to start paying attention to the local community bank where we know the manager, we know the loan officers, and we can say, hey, what are you doing with my dollars? And they're going to be responsive because they're going to be the people that have children in school with us. We're going to see them at the ballpark. We're going to see them at the 4th of July. That needs to be another strategy we start adopting, to shop local, to whether it's Walmart, Target, these liberal companies. Let's start using our dollars to support our own communities as well.
Hey, Robert, we got to run. We went a little long on this subject, but I think it's important. You know, I make the rules, I can bend them too. But Robert Kuykendall, please tell our audience, how they could find out more about Second Vote and what you do.
Yes. Please, everyone listening and watching, please come to secondvote.com. That's 2ndvote.com. You will see our research on Bank of America. You'll also see our engagement opportunities. But come on and help us tweet at Bank of America today. Let's tell them stop funding Planned Parenthood.
Robert Kuykendall, great to see you. Great to talk with you. Thank you so much for your time and what you do.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you so much, Sharon T.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharon Engel. And don't go away, on the other side, we're going to be speaking with Gregory Wrightstone about a consensus of Amazon employees reject the radical climate change agenda. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And Sharon, our next guest is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's always a pleasure to introduce Gregory Wrightstone, who is a geologist with more than 35 years spent investigating the Earth and its processes. He earned an undergraduate degree from Waynesburg University and a master's degree in geology from West Virginia University. He is also the author of a new book, Inconvenient Facts, The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. Greg, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Right? It's good to be back with you, but it's been a couple months.
It has, and lots of things can change in a couple of months. But we wanted to talk to you first about a consensus of Amazon employees reject the radical climate change agenda. You wrote this article, and you say that 4,500 Amazon employees urged the company to rethink how it deals on climate change. They want the company to reduce its carbon footprint and incorporate their vision of climate change mitigation in this decision making. Well, that sounds like a big number. How can it be that the consensus is that they reject this agenda, and yet 4,500 of them are saying, no, go ahead and reduce that carbon footprint?
Yeah. Last week it was running. The New York Times ran a story on it. It was all over the press about these 4,500 Amazon employees signing this letter. Well, I looked at it and I said, now, wait a minute. It was like it was a huge number, and they're going to force Amazon to do something. And I took a look at it. Amazon's got more than 600,000 employees. So it turns out that only represented 0.5% of all of the Amazon employees. So I said, well, apparently there's a consensus of 99.5% of their employees that didn't sign the letter, that don't want to sign on to this radical Green New Deal type proposal that they want Amazon to embrace. Do you think any of the Amazon employees in Mumbai or Kuala Lumpur, do you think they want to have they probably got their mother or grandmother cooking over dung, back in their home village? They would love to have fossil fuels to have her cook on so she doesn't have to breathe in. And there are billions of people around the world doing stuff like that. What they want to do is restrict the fossil fuels and the energy that we enjoy and not spread the wealth around all the impoverished nations of the earth. So yeah, there's 99.5% of the people, employees at Amazon, I said, rejected this radical notion of climate change. So it's all a matter of perspective.
I guess so. Everything's relative, right?
Yeah.
And it just shows an enormous amount of ignorance on the part of these 4,500 that they would propose such a thing when they know that they're a worldwide company and that not everyone in the company enjoys the same benefits that they have.
You figure Amazon's got a pretty big carbon footprint. And that's okay by me. We've talked before. I don't have my I Heart CO2 button on here, but I'm a real big proponent of the benefits of increasing carbon dioxide and rising temperatures. And so these proposals they're making, really, I call it a solution in search of a problem, because I see an Earth that's thriving, prospering, and benefiting, and humanity, by extension, is prospering along with the Earth's ecosystem. So it's a really good, feel-good story, completely opposite of what your viewers have heard before. They may never have heard that the Earth is actually improving because of climate change, and it is, and it ain't even close. It's not. So it's a good story, and sometimes I feel like an old-time evangelist. I travel around the country speaking. I feel like an old-time evangelist spreading the good news of the gospel of carbon dioxide and climate change. So we'll see, but because usually my talks, when I present them, it's inconvenient facts, how rising temperatures and increasing CO2 are benefiting the Earth and humanity. And we talk about increased food production, decreases in many of these extreme events that we're told are increasing. Things like forest fires are decreasing significantly, and the experts tell us because of climate change. Again, your listeners have probably never heard that unless they heard me the last time I was on.
Well, and we do like following you, Greg, so some of them are really up to date with you, but I don't think any of us have ever gotten a hold of this new word, agnotology. This is a great word. Tell us what the meaning of this word is and how it applies here in this article.
Yeah, it's the intentional propagation of misinformation. Think Goebbels in World War II. And so it's agnotology. I think it's a great word. David Legates is a climatologist who wrote a paper along with one of my primary editors was Lord Christopher Monckton. He was a co-author along with David Legates. In fact, I'll be, and so what they did, they combated this notion of the 97% consensus. And they actually dug into the data and found out there was actually less than a 1%, significantly less than 1% of the articles that they reviewed actually endorsed and said that the primary cause of warming over the last 50 years is man, and it's completely different. So that's what they called it. But interestingly, I'm going to be speaking to the Pennsylvania Senate in a 2-hour hearing next week, along with David Legates, the author of that. He and myself and Joe Bastardi. It's a unique opportunity for us to testify about the actual facts of climate change. And these people have never heard this. I testified 3 weeks ago to the Pennsylvania House. Heads were exploding on the Democrat side. They had never heard. It was billed before I got there as this radical science denier. They expect me to come in with a pointy hat or something. I show up, and I swear to God, people in that room and the people on the other side of the aisle, they had never heard a rational science and fact-based explanation of why they're wrong about climate change. And they listened to me, and it was eye-opening for them. It really was. And it's great. It's a great opportunity to get this message out there. And again, it's science and fact-based.
Well, and this is really an interesting ending to your article. I guess it's toward the end of the article where you really talk about this fact that only 41 out of 11,944 climate change papers. Come on. They're basing their whole agenda on 41 out of 11,944.
Yeah, this was a peer-reviewed study too, and it was taking down John Cook's study in this bizarre, unheard-of journal where he published this 97% consensus. So, and it's like so many things we hear about, Sharon and Rick, is that the things we're being told, what the science, facts, and data tell us, it's 180 degrees opposite. Up is down, left is right, black is white. What they're telling us, forest fires are increasing. No, they're not. No, they're not increasing. Area burned is, but that's a forest management issue, not a global warming issue. And they're confusing these things. So there's a lot of misinformation, and agnotology is a word you need to add to your lexicon for sure.
Agnotology. Well, we have to go to a break, and we'll come back on the other side, and we'll talk about where they are getting their information. It sounds like we accused Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of just Googling everything, and Google, of course, doesn't always get it right, doesn't always give you the facts when they give you the facts. But you have some facts about Apple that we'd like to get into. But right now, we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We'll be right back with our guest, Gregory Wrightstone, who's a geologist with more than 35 years of investigating the Earth. And he's written an article, A Consensus of Amazon Employees Reject the Radical Climate Change Agenda. We'll be right back with Greg, our co-host, Rick Trader, and I'm Sharon Engel.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You'll find our radio show, our TV show, a lot of great articles, a lot of great information. Our guest this segment is Gregory Wrightstone. He's a geologist with more than 35 years experience, spent investigating the Earth and its process. Greg, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Oh, very good. Good to be back with you.
Craig, this idea that CO2 is so bad, that is a pollutant, where did that crazy idea come from? Do you have any idea?
It started, you're right, it's the demon molecule that they are demonizing. I'm not sure where they originated, but everything's going back to this ban fossil fuels, leave it in the ground, the anti-pipeline movement. It all circles right back to this hatred of CO2. It's really a miracle molecule. It shouldn't be demonized. In fact, I'm writing in the middle of a commentary right now explaining how that instead of actually having too much CO2, we're actually CO2 impoverished. That the average CO2 levels on Earth were 6.5 times what they are today, 2,600 parts per million. We're about 400 parts per million. So we've increased, now get this, we've increased CO2 levels since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution by 130 parts per million. 130 parts per million. I'm not going to give a bunch of numbers. It's dropped 2,200 parts per million since the beginning of the Cretaceous period. 2,200, it's dropped, it's plummeted. So we're actually, plants evolved during a period whenever Earth had much higher CO2 levels, and they do much better with much higher CO2 levels. So they've got it exactly wrong about CO2.
Well, when we brought you on, I wanted, in a way, to kind of wish you a happy Earth Day. Just the other day, we passed the 49th anniversary of Earth Day, and there were some very dire predictions made at that time. For instance, that civilization would end in 15 to 30 years. And again, we're talking about Earth Day, which was April the 22nd of 1970, 49 years ago. They predicted that civilization would end in 15 to 30 years. Well, we could check that one off as wrong. And that 100 to 200 million deaths to starvation would occur within 10 years. Yeah, I don't think that one was quite right either. And that a new ice age, we'd be in a new ice age by the year 2000. Well, that was also wrong. So do you remember, I don't know, I don't want to for you to embarrass yourself, but I think you're about my age. Do you remember Earth Day in 1970?
Not really. Wasn't it? I was, let's see, in 1970. I was, God, that was, well, I graduated high school in 73, so I would have been about, I guess, a sophomore in high school. I had girls on my mind and wrestling in practice and things like that. Now, I wasn't too concerned. I got political later.
Okay, well, I can remember being in a college creative writing class at that time, and they were talking about Earth Day. So they were starting to push it way back then, and I thought, well, this is kind of neat. Let's save the Earth. Let's save the planet. I want clean air, clean water, and I thought that was pretty cool. But their predictions at that time sure was wrong. And then we've got Al Gore coming out with his book, Inconvenient Truth. I guess you wrote your book, Inconvenient Facts, to rebut that. But Al Gore has talked about that in 12 years. You know, we had 12 years. And by the way, his book came out longer than 12 years ago. But 12 years ago, he said that we'd be having rising earth levels or rising sea levels, increased tornadoes, a new ice age in Europe. The southern Sierra was drying up, massive flooding in China and India. The Arctic would be melted by 2015. And here's one, polar bears would be extinct.
Yeah. They got a little bit wrong, didn't they? Yeah, Susan Crockford just came out. And in fact, I've been talking with her, trying to help her out, get her some radio interviews. She just came out with a new book on polar bears. And she contends actually that now polar bear populations might be as high as 40,000, which is, my Lord, that's 15 times what they were 50 years ago. So they were down to 2,500. My book and my app, my smartphone app, I got the chart.
Yeah, we wanted you to tell us about the little dust up you had with your smartphone app there. You're right.
Yeah, if you want to do that now, it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, we came out with a smartphone app. I partnered up with a guy out of Boston. He's a tech geek. I'm the climate geek. And so we made a great partnership. Awesome app. It's called Inconvenient Facts. You can go, if you've got an Android, you can get it. We'll get into why you can't with an iPhone. So it has all 60 inconvenient facts. I've linked original videos that I've created to many of those 60 inconvenient facts. Everything is sourced and referenced. It's just a wonderful resource to have the information in the palm of your hand. Apple approved it February 1st to get put up on the Apple Store. I launched it on February 14th on the Glenn Beck radio and TV show. He's no Rick Trader or Sharon Engel, but he was, you guys weren't available, so I went on Glenn Beck. And we had 13,000 downloads in the first 10 days.
Wow.
We submitted a technical update. Apple came back and they said, you're not approved. You're unapproved. After it was up at that point for 3 weeks, downloading.
Did they tell you why?
We appealed it, and the final result was they determined that it lacked compelling content. Really? You ought to see what compelling content are for the pro-global warming, man-made global warming catastrophic apps. These things look, the ones they've got up there that you can get, look like failed middle school science fair projects, and they took mine down. The problem was that it lacked compelling content. The problem is it was too compelling. It just didn't fit the narrative. And guess which vice president, 70-year-old vice president of the United States, sits on Apple's board of directors?
Would that be that Al Gore guy?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it was, in the 1930s, the fascists were burning books in the public square. This is the 21st century digital equivalent of what the fascists were doing back in the 30s. They're silencing me. They're silencing the facts. What we have right here are the facts, the inconvenient facts about climate change. And that way, it's powerful. If you're have Sunday dinner or whatever you do, and you get with your nephew, your idiot nephew that's majoring in sustainable development at BYU, and he tells you the polar bears are going extinct, you can go, oh, wait a minute, Billy. Here's fact number 53 that shows the 60 years of polar bear population history by Susan Crockford. And this looks to me like they're increasing, Billy. And so
do you actually have a nephew by the name of Billy?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't want to offend them.
Hey, Gregory.
I don't have any idiot nephews that are left wing, thank God.
All right, well, good.
A lot of people do.
You're blessed because, hey, Gregory Wrightstone, we have to run, but before we do, please tell our audience how they can follow your work, read your book, find out more about your app. We got to talk with you. Maybe I'll give you a call a little later on. We might want to broadcast your testimony if you had that recorded, the testimony you did at the PA House.
Yeah, and I've got it's on my website.
Well, maybe we can broadcast that on AUN TV.
Oh yeah, sure. We've got there's a YouTube I've got of it.
All right,
house testimony. But yeah, the book since the app was taken down, it was the #1 story on Drudge for a while. It just blew up. Sales of the book skyrocketed. We were #1 ranked best-selling book in the last 3 weeks in 5 different categories on Amazon. Best seller #1, environmental policy, public policy, and climatology, among others. So people are buying the book right and left.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Gregory Wrightstone, you have a website?
Inconvenientfacts.xyz.
Gregory, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate you, buddy. Take care and God bless. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest after this break.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
Elkins goes to vote for Merrick.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why? Well, why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and they fall for the right to vote. It's it's too brutal. So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs to society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, and joining me today as my co-host is Sharon Engel. And Sharon, after 22 months, $25 million, 2,800 subpoenas issued, Special Counsel Robert Mueller found no wrongdoing by President Donald Trump and or his campaign. The investigation concluded that there was no collusion, no crime related to the alleged coordination with Russia by President Trump or any of his associates, and insufficient evidence of obstruction of justice. Sharon Engel, this is what we get. This is what we get over this mess. And Sharon, we have a very special guest joining us this afternoon, a gentleman who was wronged by this entire investigation. Please make that introduction.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure and an honor to introduce our good friend, J.D. Gordon, who is a former Pentagon spokesman who served under Secretary Donald Rumsfeld and Secretary Robert Gates. He has also served on 3 Republican presidential campaigns as a full-time senior national security and foreign policy advisor during 2012 and the 2016 election cycles for Herman Cain, former Governor Mike Huckabee, and Donald Trump, respectively. During the 2010 congressional election cycle, he arranged speaking events for former Governor Sarah Palin. Gordon has served as a senior fellow and advisor to numerous think tanks and foundations based in Washington, D.C., a past contributor to Fox News, The Washington Times, The Daily Caller, and The Hill, and a career Navy public affairs officer and retired commander. He has been the on-scene spokesman for numerous internationally newsworthy events over a 20-year active duty career, but his most notable accomplishment JD is an alumni and co-host here on Conservative Commandos radio show. And welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show, JD Gordon.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thanks, Rick. Always nice to be back.
Well, it's always great to have you. And of course, this is a bittersweet moment for all of us, I think, mostly for you, J.D. Gordon. You have been completely exonerated and vindicated. Bob Mueller has found no wrongdoing, which means that you went through chaos and your life was turned upside down for nothing. Talk to us about that. Tell us first, how much you went through just because of Robert Mueller, and now how are you feeling about that?
Well, thanks, Sharon, and thanks, Rick, for the opportunity to discuss it today. It's very important that the American people know what happened. This is a stealth coup that did not succeed to remove the president and destroy as many people around him as possible. Now, yesterday, when the news came out that the Attorney General had sent a letter to Congress that said that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, didn't find any evidence of collusion, any coordination with the Trump campaign in Russia, and that they didn't have any evidence of obstruction of justice. Conventional wisdom would think that I would be happy. I received a number of congratulatory notes and texts from people, but you know what? I was so angry, Sharon, I could barely speak. And the reason I was so angry is because from my perspective as the Trump campaign's director of national security, after I had multiple interviews with a combination of 6 different prosecutors, FBI agents, and an analyst since the summer of 2017, I can tell you it was a reign of terror. They viewed the entire Trump campaign as a crime scene, and they treat us like a mafia syndicate. Every single email, campaign or personal, phone calls, text message, meeting, memo, they were all woven together to see who could be indicted, including looking at financial records of people that had nothing to do with any allegation of collusion whatsoever. 500 witnesses, 500 search warrants, 50 pen register warrants to monitor phone calls, 2,800 subpoenas, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, Rick. So this was not the same level of an inquisition as we would see in the Iron Curtain countries in Eastern Europe during the Soviet Union days. Because if it was, there would be over 50 Trump associates who would have been indicted by 6. But it was still really bad. Now, 5 of 6 interrogators were courteous and professional to me from the special counsel. One was hostile. But, you know, it was terrifying to have all of them come after all of us, because considering what they did collectively to General Flynn, George Papadopoulos, and Roger Stone, they created crimes to punish them. It was terrifying, and I hope that we never repeat this in American history. We need to hold the people accountable who started these investigations, who started these witch hunts, and some people need to go to prison for it.
Well, the worst part of it all, though, JD, is that your life has been ruined. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, my life has been ruined the last few years. I've had 5-figure legal bills. I've had 7 interrogations between the congressional committees and the special counsel. I've testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee, who, by the way, leaked things about me to the media. The House Judiciary Committee has sent me a letter to get documents from my time on the Trump campaign. They sent a letter to 81 people and entities requesting documents, and I imagine they'll have hearings soon as well. I already testified before the House Intelligence Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee as well. And so 5-figure legal bills were spent from me out of my pocket. Fortunately, my campaign colleague, Michael Caputo, reimbursed me for those costs last year because he was able to raise about $250,000 on a GoFundMe page because he was going to lose his house. So he went on Tucker Carlson's show and Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh and raised some money, so he was able to pay my legal bills as well. Well, I have a new set of legal bills now, too, because of the special counsel earlier this year and then the House Judiciary request. So my legal bills have started again.
Unreal.
JD, this just continues to go on, it seems like, and you are listed now as former. Are you able to work at all? Are you able to really get your life back together, or have they so blackballed you in the community that you really have no choices?
Well, you know, I was under consideration for a senior administration post, including an ambassadorship. That didn't happen. My name got removed from that list because of Trump Russia, because no one's going to nominate you for anything if they think you're going to be indicted. And that's the way that CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post and the New York Times made it sound. They put my picture in graphic after graphic and story after story. So they tried to make me and my colleagues all radioactive. So we couldn't get a post in the administration, number one. And then for clients, I work with clients. Well, I lost a lot of my clients because clients don't want to deal with somebody who might get indicted, and clients don't want to deal with somebody who's going to have the special counsel or congressional committees then start going through their companies and their records, and because it's a witch hunt that ensnares one person, then the next, then the next, then the next. So you never know where it ends. So why would people want to hire you if they think A, you're going to be indicted, or B, they're going to get ensnared in your investigation? So you become like untouchable. So you can't work, you can't get clients, and you get a lot of legal bills. That's what they've done.
So, is there any vindication? Will you be able to sue any of these folks and get restitution for what's happened to you? Will you get your good name back? I guess, will you be able to continue on from here, or are you slapped with this for the rest of your life? How does this work?
Well, it remains to be seen. I hope it's not for the rest of my life. As far as lawsuits go, certainly I'm looking into that. I'm very encouraged with what Lynn Wood did down in Atlanta to represent the Covington Catholic students. Lynn Wood and I worked together actually during the Herman Cain campaign back in 2012. He was our crisis attorney when we were getting hammered with all of these sexual assault allegations. He was our star. He helped us out, even though we had insurmountable odds and Mr. Cain eventually got out of the race. I'm encouraged that Lynn Wood has brought lawsuits against both the Washington Post and CNN for $250 million each for the Covington Catholic kids. Now, having said that, I would like to do something similar for Trump associates. Now, that said, I don't know if it's going to be possible because the lawyers for CNN and Washington Post would say, well, we're all public figures. We all joined the campaign, so we all can expect this. But no, there has to be a dividing line between what's right and what's wrong. Whether it's actionable, whether they can be sued for $250 million by people like me and Carter Page or Michael Caputo, that remains to be seen. I don't know, but I am looking into it.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is J.D. Gordon. J.D. is a former Pentagon spokesman and served under Secretaries Donald Rumsfeld, Secretary Robert Gates. He's also been an advisor on many different political campaigns, including that on Donald Trump. And Sharon, we're not going to take a break during this segment. I think this is really important. We need this time to talk with our friend J.D. Gordon. J.D., let's start in the very beginning. How were you implicated in this investigation? Where was the connection between you, the Trump campaign, and what the other side called Russian collusion?
Well, there were really three, Rick, and it's a great question. First of all, I was the Director of National Security. So we had an event
for the Trump campaign.
Right, for the Trump campaign. We had an event out in Cleveland, Ohio, during the RNC National Convention called Global Partners in Diplomacy. Mm-hmm. So that was the first thread. Global Partners in Diplomacy was a 4-day program with the Republicans at their convention and a 4-day program with the Democrats at their convention. There were over 50 ambassadors who came to the event, and they were sponsored by the U.S. State Department, who bought their plane tickets and bought their hotel rooms. So at that Global Partners in Diplomacy event, I was a guest speaker. So was my boss, Senator Jeff Sessions. We were both guest speakers. So after our speeches, after our remarks, we waded out into the crowd of ambassadors and shook hands with just about all of them, if not all of them. Well, one of the people I shook hands with was the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak. And then he was in a group of people. It wasn't a private meeting. It was a handshake in a crowd of people and a crowd of other foreign ambassadors. Later on that same evening, which was July 20th, 2016, there was a networking reception, is what it was called. Well, at the buffet line, I saw Ambassador Kislyak. We grabbed some chicken satays in a crowd of people, and I said, "Hi, Ambassador, good to see you again." We ate the chicken satays in a group of people standing around at a table, a group of other ambassadors, and Carter Page. And so according to the media, those were two secret meetings I had with the Russian ambassador. Those were the secret meetings. Yeah, so that's the first thread.
And so the extent of this conversation was, hello, ambassador. And by the way, you said that these ambassadors were brought there by the Department of State, 50 ambassadors. I would take it that one of these ambassadors was the Russian ambassador. Who help me out here. This was 2016. Whose State Department was this in the first place that invited this Russian ambassador?
President Obama, of course.
Oh, I wonder if he was also questioned by the Mueller investigation why he would invite the Russian ambassador. You think
that? Yeah, somehow I doubt it. And so, and not that I'm blaming President Obama for it. This is just ridiculous, what happened.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I was getting at
right.
This ridiculous angle. You
exactly.
Third. You said there was a third connection.
Yeah, the second one was the GOP platform. The platform is about a 65-page document that lays out every 4 years what the Republicans stand for and what their goals are. Well, I was in charge of the national security part for the campaign. So during the revision of the draft out in Cleveland, the week before the RNC convention, is called Platform Week. During Platform Week, there was a woman, an 82-year-old delegate from Texas named Diana Denman, who tried to introduce an amendment calling to arm Ukraine to provide lethal defensive weapons. Now, I realized that was completely opposite to what President Trump wanted to do, what Mr. Trump at the time wanted to do. He had said that he didn't want World War III of Ukraine. So I was his representative at this meeting, so I didn't let that fly, and I brought it to the attention of the co-chair, and the delegates voted that amendment down. But what happened is there was a dishonest Washington Post piece that came out about it. Surprise, surprise, dishonest from the Washington Post. And the article from the Washington Post, which was an opinion piece, said that the Trump campaign guts GOP platform on Ukraine. Well, that became an urban legend that Adam Schiff still uses to this day, and others still use to this day, that the GOP platform was changed by the Trump campaign. We didn't change anything. We just kept some words from a proposed amendment out of the platform. So it wasn't changed in that way. So that was number two. Number three, I was the director of the national security, and I supervised our National Security Advisory Committee of about 15 people, together with my boss, who was the chairman of our committee, and that was Senator Sessions. Well, two of those people ended up becoming very newsworthy household names, Carter Page and George Papadopoulos. And since I was one of their supervisors, I got roped into the Trump-Russia hysteria because of that as well. That was the third thing.
Wow, this is incredible. By the way, I just want to remind our audience, our guest is J.D. Gordon, former Pentagon spokesman, served under Secretaries Rumsfeld and Gates, career military officer. J.D. also worked on several election campaigns, that of Herman Cain, Mike Huckabee, and Donald Trump. J.D., you mentioned that you were questioned 6 times, that one of the questionings was very hostile. During those questionings, and if you can't answer these questions, J.D., for whatever reason, just say so. Were you ever threatened with indictment or offered a plea deal for information that you may have?
No, I wasn't. I had 7 interrogations, that's total, between Congress, multiple committees, and the special counsel. But I wasn't ever a target of the investigation. I wasn't ever threatened, although I can tell you it was very unpleasant, especially from one of the prosecutors under Mueller, who I would say was quite hostile.
Can you tell us about that day?
Yeah, it was pretty awful, and it was recent, actually, because they tried to turn the GOP platform, it was recent. They tried to turn the GOP platform into a crime scene, and basically tried to go back and look at my previous testimonies and see if there were any inconsistencies. And that was the last time I had talked to him, was about 1.5 years ago. Now, can you remember a conversation, a detailed conversation, 7 hours of testimony you had 1.5 years ago?
Right.
Right? Do people even remember what they had for lunch yesterday? Right. Let alone the detailed conversations 1.5 years ago?
I can't.
Right, exactly. And so that's why these are perjury traps. And I also have to tell you that just because I wasn't a target doesn't mean I couldn't have been turned into a target in 1 minute. Because, there are no tape recordings of these things. It's just an FBI agent taking notes. And so if it's their notes against you, against your word. And you have to remember, the special counsel was literally the team of Strzok and Page, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, the 2 FBI lovers who kept sending these tweets about President Trump and how awful he is, and how they had an insurance plan, essentially, an insurance policy to make sure he could never be president. They were on the special counsel's team until it came to light what they were doing, and they got fired. So this was literally the team of Strzok and Page. It's incredible. It's surreal. It's a third world type of experience I've gone through. I've gone through a shakedown by our own FBI, by our own American FBI. Now, they didn't have anything on me. If they did, I would have been indicted too.
Wow. J.D. Gordon, after all of this, after the outcome of the Mueller investigation, and this just is incredible to me, 22 months, $25 million, 2,800 subpoenas. The report comes back with no collusion, no crimes against the president. J.D. Gordon, can you feel in any way vindicated?
No, not really. I mean, I knew there was no collusion. It's sort of like if a person is getting beaten down by a group of individuals and they stop beating him down, are you going to be happy about that? Like, what about being victimized so thoroughly for the last 2 years with my picture on CNN and MSNBC regularly for nothing? You know, they count this, there were 100 contacts between 16 Trump associates and the Trump campaign. Well, 2 of those contacts I just described, which were the handshake with the Russian ambassador at that RNC National Convention. 2 more were handshakes between Senator Sessions and the Russian ambassador, and Carter Page and the Russian ambassador. Handshakes at this event where we were supposed to be there, and that's 4 contacts right there. I mean, so it's ludicrous what we've been through.
Well, JD, you said it's not over. You said it's not over. This nightmare's not over. What's next? What do you expect to happen next?
Well, it's not over. As far as Congress goes, the House Judiciary Committee sent out letters a few weeks ago, to 81 people and entities, including me, for documents about all things Trump. They're trying to look under every rock or under every desk for anything to do with President Trump, his businesses, the campaign, the inauguration, any single thing they can get. And I expect that they're going to be holding hearings. A lot of them will be live hearings if they get their way. You have live hearings that are public hearings, broadcast on CNN and other places. They're going to try to turn this into a circus, and it's not going to end. As long as he's the president, there's going to be people that are going after him, both in Congress and also prosecutors in the Southern District of New York investigating the Trump Organization. So it's not going to end. This is third world type stuff, and people have so lost their minds over President Trump, they're just not going to stop until he's no longer the president. And who knows, they may even continue after that.
You know, Sharon Einengal, I wanted to bring you back into this conversation. You've run for Congress. You've run for U.S. Senate. 22 months. 22 months this investigation has been going on. These people are elected by we, the people, to represent us, to do the right things for our country, to make life best for us. And all they can do, all the left can do, all the Democrats in Washington can do is to continue these investigations. Sharon Einengal, I know you don't have an answer for this, but when are these people going to go back to work for the American people?
Well, I think JD has put it very well. This is third world country stuff. They don't want to work for the people. They're socialists. They have an agenda. They're globalists. They don't want to do anything but have a dictatorship in this country, and that's their ultimate goal, I believe. They are the ruling class. We are subservient to that. It is no longer we the people that rule this country, and I think that JD is just a perfect example of what a regime, a dictatorship like that will do to we the people. And I am so sorry, JD. You know, I thought I had gone through a real ringer when I ran against Terry Reid in the way that the press took away my good name. But at least I had some way to redeem some of this. It seems like yours is just going on, and there is no redemption in sight.
No redemption. You know, I just try to live every day to the fullest extent I possibly can. A lot of sleepless nights over years now, basically. It's been a very big strain for my family. You know, I moved in 2017. I don't tell my neighbors my name. Nobody knows my name as far as I know here. I don't know any of my neighbors' names. You know, for ride-sharing apps, I go to a local church or a train station where I can walk. Basically, the resistance has tried to make us feel like criminals, like we're Nazi war criminals. That's how they've tried to make us feel. And we've got death threats. I turned over the worst 4 people that have been engaged in cyber stalking and online harassment. I've turned the worst 4 over to the FBI Cyber Crimes Unit. Those individuals haven't bothered me recently, but you never know. You know, we have political violence, people like Congressman Steve Scalise being shot, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords years before being shot. So, you know, I'm afraid the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, and MSNBC are going to get me killed. I think they're going to get me killed and my colleagues killed. It's reprehensible what's happening. They need to pay the price. And I think that if we can get a class action suit against these folks, I hope it's going to be successful.
J.D. Gordon, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. J.D., I know you as nothing but a good and honorable man. Does it help if I apologize on behalf of the American people for everything you've been through? But J.D., and we'll have to wrap this up in the next few minutes, all this reminds me of Raymond Donovan. Raymond Donovan, former member of the Reagan cabinet, was indicted, was tried, was found not guilty at trial. I'll never forget what he said when he walked out of the courtroom. Which room do I go to get my reputation back? JD, have you found that office yet to get yours back?
No, I haven't. But you know, unfortunately, my family's been very supportive of me, and I've had a lot of good friends like you and Sharon being supportive, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show. And you know, prayers help too. These are tough times for us and for the country, but people shouldn't forget about the folks who are collateral damage in this. It's one thing to feel bad for President Trump, and I do. No president, no person, no individual should have to go with what he's gone through. But there are a lot of people that should understand that it's not just President Trump. It's also a lot of people who helped President Trump get elected who are being totally savaged and destroyed.
You know, we hear this cry all the time. Why don't we get good people who want to serve in office? Sharon, J.D. Gordon, you've both been through it. What you've both been put through is just shows why we can't get more good people to get involved for our country. J.D. Gordon, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. All I could say is take care, God bless, and God be with you.
Thank you so much, Rick. Thanks, Sharon. God bless you all. What's happening to us is more than just Marxist type taxes. It's been satanic, and so I hope we can get past this altogether.
I hope so too. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. On the other side, we're going to be talking about more liberal lunacy. California is looking to tax drinking water, believe it or not. The air, the water, they don't care. They'll tax it. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back with our next guest, Timothy Snowball.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Well, Sharon, that just about wraps it up for today's show. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. Please tell our audience how they could follow what you do when you're not here at Conservative Commandos.
Well, they can follow me on SharonEngle.com, SharonEngle.com. And I want to thank our guests today. We had Robert Kuykendall, who is the Director of Communications for Second Vote, talking about Bank of America funding Planned Parenthood and what we should do as conservatives about that. We do have some clout. Our second guest today was Greg Wrightstone, and he is a geologist with more than 35 years spent investigating the Earth and its processes. And he talked to us about a consensus at Amazon. The employees reject radical climate change agenda and a new word, agnotology, and that is the deliberate dissemination of non-facts or untruths or propaganda. And finally, we had a third guest that was scheduled to be with us, Jennifer Braceros. We're going to have her on later. She had an emergency in her family, and so we substituted an interview that we hope you enjoyed watching today.
All right. But with that, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio. AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV.
Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.